Yes, people, welcome back to another episode of In and Out Rumours on the Only IR. And on today's episode, we're talking about Dani Ceballos and his failed move to a French club. We're talking about another Barcelona player being linked to Manchester United and Chelsea. I don't know what Chelsea is doing, but they're linked to everybody. But they're also linked to selling players, and we're going to be talking about a few of those players they're selling, what's happening with one of their main players in Christopher Nkunku, and we're also going to be talking about a possible move for a Manchester United player to a team in Italy. So it's all happening today, right now. So let's jump into it. Dani Ceballos is being linked to a move to Marseille. Now, my boy is holding on for dear life. He really doesn't want to go. So basically, he stalled so long on the contract. Like FIFA, you start 2 days on the contract, you sim it. Marseille was like, well, bro, we ain't want you anymore. So Dani Ceballos was supposed to be a replacement for Adrien Rabiot, who is being linked to leave the club also because of a fight he got into. Now, they can't really get rid of Rabiot before they bring in another player, as they're going to be 2 midfielders less. So they need to make sure they are able to bring in Ceballos, lock him in, and then they were able to let go Rabiot. But apparently, he took so long to agree to the contract because he's holding on to play for Real Madrid. And I understand it, him being Spanish, him not actually ever having a run in Real Madrid team. Now he's becoming a bit older. He don't see if he's going to technically move to another big team, because in the eyes of Ceballos, Real Madrid to Marseille is a downgrade. In my opinion, it's a big move because Marseille is on an upward trajectory and they probably win a big trophy this season. And a lot of people might think I'm talking crazy, but they are really a good team. A lot of people don't watch Ligue 1, but I'm telling you, Marseille is not a joke team. Mason Greenwood, if he didn't have that accusation behind his name, he would have definitely been in the conversation in the list for the Ballon d'Or. Him and Dembele's numbers in Liga were very much similar. So we can't sit down here and just act like this guy is not performing at a high level, and Marseille is a really good team. And Aubameyang is playing well. They have really good players in this team. Now, Ceballos is struggling to leave also, and I don't know why, because Xavi Alonso doesn't really fancy him. He has at least 6 players to compete with. Now look at this article saying the players here. Tchouameni, Valverde, Goula, Eduardo Camavinga, Jude Bellingham, and still the youngster Thiago Piach. Now, let's not forget, these are all the players Real Madrid have at their disposal. And as we know, you still have Trent, who can come play in the middle of the park. So there's so many players that he has to compete with. And I feel like Valverde is even struggling to get into this team at the moment because they put him out on the right wing back to play. So there's so many things in which I don't get why he didn't make this move. But at the end of the day, Spanish players find it hard to leave Spain, and I get that. And this is why I need to speak about this other Spanish player who's being linked to a move to Chelsea and Manchester United, a nice young midfielder in Fermin Lopez. Now, Chelsea wants to buy everyone, so that's not really anything, special. Chelsea is playing football market, Ultimate Team, esports, I can name Konami, I don't even know. You just name all the football games out there and their creators, that is Chelsea. Whichever one you want. So you can say FIFA, you can say EA26, you can say PES, whatever, Konami, Chelsea is just on the madness. Now, Chelsea is trying to buy Fermin Lopez as Manchester United. That's the rumor going around. Now, Fermin Lopez is a really good midfielder, and he has played in multiple positions around the midfield, as well as a winger, as a right winger and a left winger sometimes. Which tells me that he's a good driver of the ball. Now, can he dictate the play and control the play? I haven't seen that much of him doing that in Barcelona. He's more of the high-energy, box-to-box guy for Barcelona. So, to bring him in a team now and ask him to be a defensive player at Manchester United, I feel that might be a bit of a hard ask for him. Also, the Premier League, he's not as physical, he's not as big, so you can't have him and Bruno inside of a midfield where you're already lacking physicality. So then now, would he fit Chelsea? No, he would have to compete at Chelsea. But Chelsea kind of have a bit of a better base in terms of how he would fit in. You know, you have the Kaisaidos, you have Enzos, you have Latvias. You have good midfielders there that they can they can play in a 3 if they bring on Lopez. Or they can play in a 2 with a Cam, which they do right now. With a Cole Palmer, with a Xavi Simons they're being linked to. So it's a lot of different dynamics that they can bring and he can bring to Chelsea team, which is why I think, you know, Chelsea should go after him a bit harder than Manchester United. Now, I wouldn't be upset if United gets him, but he kind of is not really what they need. So for them to go after that player would just be useless because Chelsea and United are trying to sell players. They're trying to get rid of players as well as they're trying to buy the players that they want in their system at the moment. So for them to just go after a player that they don't really need or they don't really see them fitting into the system, I just don't see how this works for United as well as it would work better for Chelsea, but I just don't think they need this at the moment. But what they also don't need is a player in Christopher Nkunku, apparently. So now he needs to leave Chelsea because he needs game time. He needs to get into the French squad, and he's a really good player. Before this guy went to Chelsea, he was actually playing really well. So the fact that he's now here and struggling to get game time in the Chelsea team, for me, is baffling. Now, he does not want to go to AC Milan, according to these reports, if he does not get a permanent move. And can you blame the guy for wanting to get a permanent move when he's been at Chelsea and he knows if he doesn't do well at AC Milan, he's going right back to the same situation and even worse? He needs a bit more, and that's why he wants a permanent deal. Can't really wrong the guy when he spent nearly a whole 2 seasons at a club that he hasn't gotten any game time, really. He's basically played a big part in Chelsea's whole sort of trophies that they've won in the last 2. Sancho's played as much as a factor and as much as a role in Chelsea winning trophies as Nkunku has. And that's a lot to say when they've spent $5 million to send the freedom fighter back. Now, Chelsea's also been buying and selling a lot of other players. Like, another big mention for me is Chukwuemeka to Borussia Dortmund. That is a big move for Chelsea and Dortmund. For one, thank you very much, Chelsea, for letting go a top quality player to another club to flourish. Because y'all have been doing this for too long. People are acting like Chelsea has just started this model of them having a lot of players on their books and buying and selling. These people have been doing this for a long time. There was actually 2 seasons ago, there was information going around saying that Chelsea had around 82 players on loan. Now think about that. If you have 82 players on loan, right, just say minimum each player is like 5 million. That's nearly 400 and like something million dollars. Say each player is 10 million. That's 800 million. So that's nearly £1 billion they can probably invest into this squad. Now that's just that's crazy because that's why they just inflate the prices for the players, because they know at the end of the day one of their players will get bought because they have a massive pool of talent. So it's not a hard thing for them to put massive prices, inflate markets, and then cause players to not be sold at a high rate because they are selling their players very high. But also they're allowing now average players to be sold at a high rate. And that's not good. That's not good. Because now you see teams like Napoli really not wanting to buy players like this striker for Manchester United, Rasmus Højlund. Now, Rasmus Højlund is being linked to Napoli, and this is a big move for him. I think he should definitely go. Bro, if I was you, I'd pack my boots and go play for the Italian champions. You're going to play Champions League. You're probably going to fight for the top goal scorer in the Champions League because you were doing that at Manchester United. So I can only think of what you're going to do with this team under Antonio Conte. You will develop, playing with Scott McTominay, playing under Conte, playing with the champions of Italy. There's no doubt you can become an elite striker. Manchester United should keep you, in my opinion. But the delusional fans and those who want you to leave because you did not perform from a 20-year-old to a 20-year-old is delusional for me. Yet they compare to strikers at the age like Lewandowski. They compare, which is 35 years old. But I don't even want to rant too much about that. So this is talking about the Italian Giants initially proposed a loan move for Højlund. But Højlund, as well as Nkunku, was saying, nah, make me feel like I want to be a part of this. So they'd either have to put an obligation to buy in it, or he also doesn't want to leave because he wants to feel important to the club. And I get it. I get it. You're a young man who moved from Manchester United. Your next move have to be a big move and the right move for you and the best move for you. So at the end of the day, if you're not making a move that's going to benefit you, you shouldn't even make that move, Højlund. And that's why I think this move would be big for you because it's the best thing for your career right now. Go and let the world see that you are actually a really good striker. Now, a few other honorable mentions on some transfers here. Yeah? We are looking out at the last few days to transfers like Savinho to Tottenham, which is a good look. We're also looking at Nicholas Jackson to Bayern Munich. Now, this move for me is another one we have to look at in a way that people might think it's a joke. But Nicholas Jackson brings a different dynamic to Bayern Munich. Now, when we talk about Bayern over the last few years, their team never really excited us. But now when we call that front three of Kane, Olise, and Luis Diaz, we have to put some respect on Bayern Munich. Because not only have they seeked out some of the best talent from the Premier League, which is one of the hardest things to do, especially when players are performing at a high level, right, at their clubs. But also, they have now trying to bring in a young player like Nicholas Jackson who can add to that, who can not only compete with Harry Kane, allow Harry Kane to stay at a high level, which also benefits England national team, but also brings in another dynamic which he can play off the left. So it's a lovely fit for Bayern Munich, for me, and for Nicholas Jackson because he learns off of Harry Kane and can possibly end up being Bayern Munich's number one for in the next year or two. So that is not a bad look. Now also another nice player moving on is Larsson to Newcastle. This one for me is something I thought Manchester United should have gone after. I really like Larsson. Larsson is a really good player. Larsson is a striker that does his role at a high level, but people just think because he's Wolves and he doesn't look like this spectacular, dynamic player, people just don't want to talk about him. But he does the right things. He stays in the middle of the goal all the time. He attacks the front post. He's always there for deflections. He's always there to be the striker to tap the balls in. He is the link player. He releases the pressure for Wolves so many times. So many times when Wolves is in possession of the ball, he keeps centre-backs and other teams honest. He brings others into the game. He holds up the ball. There's so many things about Larsson I can talk about right now that I feel like he would have added so much to a few clubs that went after other strikers. But that's how it goes. Sometimes, different people just see the game differently, and that's what's the beauty of football. It's a very opinionative sport, and that's why all of us are able to talk about it, even if some of us have no idea what we're talking about. But yes, people, it's been your boy Yaya bringing you some great news today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. Keep hitting the bell for notifications so we can continue bringing you great content going forward. Have a good time and take care of yourself. Ciao.